you are going to look like a genius or a freak. If it's
Mm.
asked for, projected channel, you have a lot of stories to tell, you have a lot to express here. You're brilliant. Hey, welcome to your human design session.
Yay.
It's 7/27, 2003. It's just like your initiation into this human design experiment, because that's what it is. It's completely an experiment. You get these insights into your blueprint, into what you came in as, and you get to learn how to work with that. And then you can, always shift and move through it and be a different thing. But this is like your starting point, or your like how your aura functions. It's also the science of differentiation, which means like we've all been homogenized. So it's learning about ourselves so we can explain how we are to others, so we can be treated, but also so we can pass this information on so that we can, create a different world where we're not all slaves.
True.
And then we get to pass it on to the children, because this is for the children. So it's like the adults have to learn it first. So it's super my pleasure to share all of this, because it's also self-forgiveness. It's like, oh my God, I was running without any of this info, no blueprint, no like handbook on how to be a human, but this kind of is. So, and then you have to test it. You have to bring it into your world, test it, work it, and that's what's going to give you the best results.
Whoa. Okay.
That's you. Have you seen, or like, do you understand anything about your design, or just
Okay.
your own
So I
research? What's that?
right. So I originally put it into like online, like when my brother told me about human design and was like, "Oh, have you done it?" And I was like, "I think I've heard of it." You know, it's like one of those things like along the path you felt like you heard about it. I don't know, and I
Hmm.
never really looked into it. And then I did type it in, and I kind of got this layout. I don't think it was this in depth, but I did get
This
like a
one's pretty
layout.
in depth. Yeah,
Yeah. So I did
that's
get
why I
a
love this
layout, like
one.
obviously to find out, oh, pure generator. Like on the other one I got, it was just like you're a generator. I was like, okay. 6-3 generator. I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, then I got it, and then I was like, okay, well, what does all this mean? And he's like, well, Angela does readings. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
Cool.
I need a little more insight into this, because
Yeah.
on Sunday evening I had my Indian palm leaf reading. So I feel like this is like a great segue into that, and then kind of
Awesome.
combining it.
Yay, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really insightful.
Wow.
And two, for me, my journey is like transitioning. So I'm not like totally giving up everything that I did in the past, but I need a little more clarity on what I should focus my energy more on, instead
Okay.
of like just being like, okay, I'm done with that life. Bye, onto this new life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
That's
it's
kind of
really,
correct for you, though.
is it?
It is. Bonds made and broken. Cutting, done. Next thing,
Okay.
next thing, next thing. Like, that's okay.
Okay, because I did feel that like in some of my relationships recently, like with friends and family and things. I'm like, okay, am I not communicating this clearly, or is something like something's going on where I don't feel like I'm being heard, or my communication isn't uh coming across as clearly as I would like it to. And I even had messaged Christy about this at the beginning of the week, because I was having a difficulty with one of my close friends that I've known for like 20 years. And she was just like, I literally had to block her. Like I was like, I can't, I'm not doing, and I kind of, because she was a female, I messaged Christy and I was like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Is this appropriate, or should I work with her through this? And she didn't give me a yes or a no, but she gave me more insight. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, block. Like I just had to,
Yeah.
um, and I think it was good for both of us, right? So I have my other
Yeah.
social media platforms that if she wants to reach out, she knows where to find me. I'm very active, right?
Right.
So but as far as my phone number and like my personal phone number, I'm like,
What
no.
day was this?
This was last Friday, I think it was.
Okay.
Right before I went.
Well, we're also in Venus retrograde as of Saturday, the 22nd. Venus went retrograde, so it's like a
Oh,
reevaluation of all your relationships.
I think it was like right, I think it was the 21st. So it was like right before
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's happening for sure right now.
That's
And I really believe in like finding communication. I'm trying to learn about how to communicate with kindness. What are your needs? Like the nonviolent
mm,
communication. And like, gosh, it's just like sometimes I've seen all the things in the charts that are happening. Usually it's mechanics. It's one of those things that makes you different and you expect each other to be the same, or like there's something, it's all here. I just had the
right.
same thing happen and I found all of it in the chart. I was like, holy crap, this is what's happening. This is what's
Right.
happening in our energy fields that is glitching everything out. And then, yeah, sometimes people are more willing to dive deeper into themselves. And if you feel like you're the only one willing to do that, and that's been my experience sometimes, but
Mm.
um, I don't know, I find value in both.
Right. And
But
that's why I'm trying to find a balance in that. Like, because I am
mm-hmm,
such an empathetic person, because I've had a
mm-hmm,
very extensive life uh event, experience where I've
yes,
gone through
I
a lot
know.
of ups and downs.
I imagine. I mean, I
Uh,
don't know, but I can tell that
yeah,
you're like,
that I'm like, okay, I can
yeah,
work with you on this. I can, but it's like
yeah,
one of those like, I'm not gonna pull the cart for you. Like, you're gonna have to
right.
do the work. And because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm doing it myself. And then now it's kind of kind of siphoning off through the rest is like, okay, are these people really like the best relationships to have, or am
Right.
I opening myself to new relationships like you
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
new friends and people that are in the
Hmm.
space that I can clearly communicate with and that understand like, hey, this
Right.
is what's going on. Venus is in retrograde, like not,
Well, we have
hey,
our
let's
own
go.
language, I feel
Yeah,
like.
like, yeah, exactly. Not like, hey, let's go get a
What's this?
drink. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, so it's,
Yeah.
and I had, again, nothing, I have nothing against alcohol. It's just me on alcohol is not a good thing.
I get it. I don't
Yeah,
really anymore at all. Maybe like once a month, maybe one, like I don't oppose it. And sometimes it's good medicine in a way to
yeah,
use, but
for sure.
um I don't like I don't like it actually
Right.
either. Usually I'm like, oh, this feeling, but I definitely was in my third line phase. So we have a lot in common to start talking out of order because
Okay.
that's just what we're going to do. So we're talking about all this. Your profile is a 6-3, and
Okay.
that's the character you came to play. There's 12 different profiles. Um,
Okay.
the third line is the martyr. The sixth line is a third line for the first 30 years of its life. So we kind of mutate, we change. I'm a 4-6 and you're a
Okay.
6-3. So the third line is the scientist, the anarchist, bonds made and broken. It's like, is this foundation stable? No, then we have to smash it.
Mm.
Breaking bonds doesn't mean that you can't rebuild them, but sometimes you have to, and we get really good at it, you know? It's
Yeah.
the martyr. So we'll martyr ourselves, and we're the ones who are here to find out every way it doesn't work.
Okay.
So you're always going to have this flavor because you're a 6 and a 3. But for the first 30 years of your life, you were a 3-3, a double three,
Oh,
because
okay.
the sixth line transitions through 3 life phases.
Okay.
Experience the suffering of the world on a different level, like very
Mm.
much present on the material plane with seeing the things that don't work, and that can develop like a type of pessimism too, or just like, ugh, like this is hard, the martyr,
Right.
sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. So right now, your Saturn return was probably about 29. I can look at the exact date, but and then you kind of transition to this aloof on the roof phase. So from age 29 to about 50, we go aloof on the roof, which means like maybe I was in the world in my 20s, you know, I was drinking a lot, I was doing all the things, I was freaking at every party, all the things, and then I was like, and now all of a sudden I don't go anywhere. I don't really, I only like kind of selective, and I'm starting to be like, okay, what does work out there? What does work? And have this healing from the first 30 years of such an extreme, um, having to try all the things too, like
Definitely.
sampling, moving around, doing different things, different groups. Um, and then we're in our prime at age 50 and above. So we're kind of like fine wine,
Okay.
where we go through this extreme phase, 30 years of like shit. And then it's still kind of intense. You know, you're up on the roof, you're healing, you're doing your own thing, you're finding you, aside from what everyone wanted you to be, or like the trials and figuring it out. Now you're starting to be like, okay, I got this. More aloof, not as in all the things. And then at 50, we come off the roof as the Buddha, as the wise sage, as the role model. So you're a
Mm.
role model martyr.
Oh, great.
And it's like people are always watching, like if they watch at the sixth line. You're
Mm,
also observed, are you? Yeah. So people are looking at you to see what you're doing all the time, no matter what, you know,
mm,
and we get to be the role model, but through our own experimentation. And like there's a skepticism that comes with that too, in a way of like, I might be like, Benjamin, don't touch that. It's really hot. And you're gonna be like, well, how hot is it? And is it actually hot? And if I'm gonna tell people this is hot, then I need to touch it so I know it's hot.
right.
And so it's like experiential wisdom. And we
Mm,
speak our medicine through what we went through, you know?
mm,
How does
definitely.
that feel?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I am definitely like that. I'm kind of like the Goldilocks. I'll try everything 3 times kind of thing. I'm like, I'm like, okay, once I'm like, okay, it burned. I'm like, okay, was it that? You know, try it again.
There's
Okay,
more
yeah, that
to
was really hard.
extract.
Yeah,
There's more to extract from this. The third time,
yeah,
you're really getting in there, you know?
yeah, exactly. Go a little deeper. Like try everything once. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it at least 3 times because it's like
Yeah.
once I'm like, I didn't really get to experience it.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
and the good and the bad, right? Like it's kind of
Hmm.
it can be a double-edged sword. I'm obviously maturing through that space. Uh as I, now it's like, okay, try everything 3 times. Then I'm more selective about what I am trying, right? When I was younger, I was like, try everything three
Yeah.
times, every,
Yeah.
yeah. So now it's like, okay, like, let's just say I went to a sound bowl meditation or something. It was like, okay, I went, I was like, I was like, okay, that was cool. Like my first one, I was like, okay, that was cool. But I was like, okay, I'll try it again and then try it again.
Hmm.
And then it's like, okay, is this something I'm going to continue doing for my, health and for my, awakening? Or is this like, then by the third time, I'm like, okay, I don't really, this isn't something that I really resonate with right at this moment. Or this is
Yeah.
something, yes, I need this in my life.
Hmm. Hmm. That's exactly it. And it might just be for a season it's not in your life, or you're I'm supposed to go here now. That was an and it might come back around and now it's an and that kind of brings us. We're gonna go to the generator next, your aura type.
Okay.
There's 4 different aura types because I was gonna go on another side quest. I'm like, no, no, we're here. Here. The
Okay.
most important things about this whole reading is your aura type, your strategy, and your authority. So I definitely have to talk about those. There's so much that
Okay.
I want to tell you. Um,
Yeah. Right. Tell me.
so generator, I'm a pure generator. Pretty much generator is a pure generator. Like it's the same thing. It's just a different way of saying it. So
Okay.
about 70% of the population is a type of generator. You and I
Okay.
are pure or generators, pure generator, generator. And then there's also manifesting generators.
Okay.
So about 35% generator, 35% manifesting generator. What makes us generators is the sacral
Mm.
is defined. And so that means we have access to consistent energy in the sacral, which is life force energy, and it gets regenerated through satisfaction.
Mm.
So also part of the reason why I'm here doing this session, because I'm like, oh, I'm dead. I can't do it. And I'm like, no, I know you're gonna get satisfied. I already feel better. My body feels like energy, like something different. So I'm like, ah, thank you. And I mean, I could also walk by a sock on the floor for like 2 months and not pick it up because I don't have the energy for that. So we're here to do what we have the energy for, what lights us up. We get a zing, we get a
Mm.
and then we go do the thing. Our aura is magnetic. It's open and enveloping, like a warm hug, very friendly, like it's open. People can feel us, feel our, you know, and we work off magnetics. So it's like part of that is your conscious manifestation and thoughts, but then it's also obviously going to be the inner belief systems and like your unconscious that we're creating from too. So it's like the more you can purify and align and work this system and make your decisions based on your authority that we'll get into, and like then your magnetics are going to be stronger. You're going to be walking in or having these things come into your realm that you want to say that you want to say yes to. Go
Next
ahead.
phase is
Yeah.
yeah, the next phase is like that. Like it's just having better discernment on my internal discernment, right? Like, because
Hmm.
everything external is like, okay, can I discern for myself, like how I feel in this moment? And does it suit, like you're saying,
Hmm.
my pure generator mode? Like, does it actually
Yes.
assist with that? Yeah.
Hmm. Yep. And we're not supposed to initiate as generators. It's like
Uh,
only the manifestors. Pure manifestors are at about 9% of the population. They're the only ones that are here to initiate. The projectors, 20% of the population, are the guides for the generators because we have all this energy and we're like, woo, and then
uh,
they come in, plug in to our hearts and are like, but they have to wait for an invitation. Otherwise, it's going to feel like, oh, hell no, get the heck out of me. And like, there's a whole
uh,
projector generator issue. And projectors are the most conditioned because they're living in a generator world, expected to be generators, these other types, and they don't have that. It's a wait to respond. So that's like going to look like, you're like, I would really like to experience this. And you start to put it out there and feel it out there. And the universe then, or God, or spirit, or your higher self, whatever you want to call it, will come into your reality and you'll get a chance to be like, oh, it's here. I can respond to that now. So it's like kind of like,
okay.
whoa, it's a lot easier when you don't have to feel like you're initiating, but we were taught that, Nike, just do it, just knock on those doors, get out there. And that's not to say to sit on your ass and not do anything. And you can kind of feel it. Like, um, or another example I give is like a pinball machine where you pull the ball, boom, there's the sacral motor and it's going, and you're at the bottom like this, and it's not
Yeah.
even near you, and you're just
Yeah.
exhausted doing the thing. And just wait, bing, 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 bing. You
Uh,
get points, you get to where you need to go. It could come in the form of a song, and just being observant and following that like heart line or that flow or your magnetic pull.
so with the waiting spot, kind of what you were saying earlier with like having this energy, but
Hmm.
also waiting, like kind of waiting with it, like waiting, but also having energy. That's kind of, I guess, where I'm at too. It's like
Yeah.
I have energy, I want to go do it, but
Hmm.
having the balance of like, okay, wait for it, then
You
act.
yeah. Well, if it's coming in, if it's like something is being presented to you and you're like, I want to do this, the way
Right,
you know is because of your authority. That's your sacral. Your sacral
right,
is going to be
okay,
like, it's primal sounds. It's like those, uh-uh,
yeah, yeah,
and like it's like pinging you and you're like, yes, and it's like pulling you towards it. Then you don't have to wait. You
okay,
just have to wait to be able to answer the call to say yes to it. And it's like your body's going to say, uh-huh. The problem
okay.
with that is that we've been conditioned to be here with decisions because probably when we were
Mhm.
children too, uh-huh and usually is not polite and they make you say yes or no. And it's not taught that we listen to our bodies. And so
Right.
I'm sacral also. So it's very much and we do best with yes or no questions. If I ask you, what do you want for dinner? If I ask you, do you want to go have a salad or pizza? You can The yes or no questions are going to allow you to feel your body, not from the mind. But then it could also be, but your head's like, well, it might be good networking, or I feel guilty because they came to my party and I need to go to theirs, and you're
Oh, yeah.
and then you go and you're like, ugh, and it's not the right thing for you. So there's all these
Right.
hacks. We have to like get back in tune with the So like eating, using your primal sounds, like making love, whatever you would use that sounding, kind of get back in tune with that being your guide. And
Mm.
that's how you know where to direct your energy. Uh-huh. How's that
Uh-huh.
feel?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Uh-huh.
I did go to I don't know if you know Abigail, but I did go to one of her sound things, and I hadn't done sound in a long time, but back in high school I was in choir and theater, and I was in sports too. So I basically squashed the theater and went straight into sports, which is more like physical, like,
Mhm.
manly, and it was
Yeah.
great and everything for my physical, but I laid that dormant. So again, 20 years later, I went to this sound thing where I had to activate my voice. And man, the sacral energy there that I had bottled in that place was like, it was like, it threw me off. I was like, what is happening? Like, this is not like, it wasn't normal for the last 20 years, but I definitely felt that something waking up, and in that voice,
Mm-hmm.
then it was like, it was like a floodgate. So it was like I didn't really know how to control it. Like it wasn't like,
Mm-hmm.
like letting it out like a faucet. Like it was just like fire hose, boom. And it wasn't like, and I couldn't really, it was just out of control. I couldn't capture any of it. And then it just kind of, and then it, went down. But at like the first day or two after it, it was just like
Mhm.
coming out, and it kind of
Yeah.
freaked me out. I was called Abigail. I was like, is this normal? Like, what is going on?
It was
I'm kind
very
of,
effective.
yeah, it was really effective. And I, like, for like an hour, was like going at it. Like, I went into it just being like, because again, in my sacral, I was like, oh, this feels good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm going to be in an area where I'm supported. I'm not going to feel embarrassed and feel like I'm the weirdo, And when I did, yeah, it was, I was not ready for that. I'm like,
Um,
yeah, it was. I mean, I had a lot, and then I talked to her about it, and she's like, "Oh, that's just because I didn't really know what was going on." I was like, "Does this happen to everybody?" And she's like, "Oh, But I'm like, she's like, "That's your sacral. You're waking that up." I'm like, "Okay,
mm,
I've got to control this a little bit more." So then I went to another event with her and Chris, and they did some work like on my core and in that sacral zone, and we kind of focused on that. And then it kind of like, it like took the tap down, like simmered down a little bit, where I could control it a little bit more.
mm-hmm.
So I definitely feel that when you said that.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you
Yeah, it
have
was.
the 12 too. The gate 12 is like acting and singing and expression and that creative
Mhm.
artistry for sure.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And that too, and the sacral and the throat are linked. They're the same. Like, they
right.
work together. They're the polarity. If this has something, this has something. If this has something, this has something. So it makes sense that would
Yeah.
blast both of them open. Hmm. So this is the
For
body
most of
graph.
that,
This is, oh,
for most of that activity, I was actually standing too. Like some people were sitting, and I felt like I had to like stand up for it.
yeah, you're gonna have extreme experiences. Like it's a
Mm,
really fast track lifetime, I would say, to be a 6-3 or a third line at all, but especially having that double three life experience. And it's developed as like the wise man. The
mm,
three goes through it, and have to be like maybe looked down upon in certain ways because like you have to do it wrong sometimes before it's right, or like, but that's the
mm,
process of how we change things. how we make a difference is someone's got to fucking do that. So thank you for going through it. And then you get like this lie detector discernment level on like hot, like you just like after a while, but first we got to develop that through finding all the ways not to do it. And then like we're on, you know, and like relationships too, the sixth line is like soulmate or not. Like, is this a soulmate relationship or not? Is this, it's like longevity. You also have the 34 gate, which is like all about integrity to your own personal, what you need for you.
Mm.
And
So would that be, because I've had that happen in relationships, the 34 can be kind of combative in relationships because I'm looking for like, oh, is this for me?
yeah,
So you're saying that it kind of, because that's kind of been my thing with relationships. It's like they are long
mm,
term. A lot of them are, because it's just like I'm that kind of person and I feel comfortable. So it's like a year, 2, 3 years, right? And
mhm,
easy, like 3 years is like easy for me. But then the breaking point always is, well, I'm not doing me. I'm doing
mm.
us, and I feel like I need to do me. And then that other person's like, what the heck? I thought we were doing this together. And I'm like, well, we are, but this is more like
I
about
feel that
me.
for sure. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, okay, so that makes me think of this. These are the centers, your crown, third eye, throat. This identity center is open or undefined. It's not, it's undefined. So they're either going to be defined, colored in, and that means
Mm-hmm.
you have consistent access to this energy of the defined centers, and this is kind of what you're putting out there. And then the open centers or undefined, the white ones are where you're a student, where you're changing, you're amplifying the energy of other people coming into your world, amplify it. So you have this identity center, which is the chameleon when it's undefined, and you're going to become who you're around. Your environment, extremely important. You're like, I like country music over here. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm this. And now who the fuck am I? And searching for love and direction. That's the thing with the open. And then we have this center open, which is the willpower or heart, ego is undefined. I have this as well, and that's constantly trying to prove our worth, not charging enough for what we're worth. It's
Mm.
like a self-worth journey. And so half the
Mm.
time when we're feeling something more than that, it's not even our own energy. We're amplifying those who are around. Yours is completely open here, so no gates defined. So it's like this is where we're the most conditioned. And you're so empathic. So sometimes in relationship, I'll be around a man and be like, wow, I'm so into him and like feel it and really attract like all the things. And then I'll be out of the aura and I'll just like not feel it as much. So I experimenting with the idea that I'm amplifying how much they care for me and all the things and then and feeling it like it's my own, but really it's my own. And so that's getting into the
Oh,
wrong agreements too, and saying yes to things that maybe aren't for me because I'm confused. So like being in your own aura to make the decisions. You're sacral and you can but I get hacked by this open center. And say that somebody
yeah.
has the 59 or the 55, that's gonna make you emotional authority. And emotional
Oh,
authority is half the population. Sorry, it's fast. It's a lot. I gotta stream this into you. That's why we
no, that's good.
record it though. And so when we come into a merger with them, we might feel that way too and not have full clarity. So I like to go in my own space to make my decisions, to really ask myself, uh-uhs, and like work on that. And then also clearing these spaces regularly. And you're not here
Mm.
for consistent willpower and you're not here to make promises. You're not here to make commitments. Only 30% of the population have that center defined. So I'm having a hard time with that one specifically right now with the will center, but um, it's giving me lots of data to use.
Well, it's
So
interesting too how you said like society wise, I mean, even that we're conditioned to make commitments and be committed to work, relationships, children, family, us, like that, oh, if you're not committed, you're not in it, like to win it kind of thing. And it's like,
yeah, For
when
sure.
did that become a thing? Like,
It's like shamed.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially because 70% ish don't have it defined. So most of
Yeah,
us, you
70%.
know,
Wow.
yeah, like, oh my gosh. And then you have the open crown. So that's constantly streaming in ideas. Oh my gosh, so many questions. And the not self of that is thinking about things that don't matter, and just like there's like, but and not all the questions have to be answered. They're not all for you. You're just an
Oh,
inspiration factory kind of thing.
okay, great.
So
How
don't,
is
it's like a pressure
inspiration
center too. It
factor?
could be pressure to get it all figured out.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay. I
Yeah.
know. No, I
Yeah.
know. Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought I was just a hothead. Okay. So,
Hmm.
so what I'm hearing is these ones that are completely cleared out aren't necessarily a bad thing or a negative thing.
So,
It's they're cleared out to allow open, like almost like open portals for those things to come in.
yes, we get superpowers too when we're connecting with one another. Like there's connection charts. So you put the two charts together, you see where
Right.
your points of pressure can be, you see where your superpowers together, you see your differences. I mean, there's really something to this. I really am feeling like the practical application of this coming through in like conflict resolution, because we need that.
Oh yeah.
Like there's so much, even with people we love, like we need help. And so like that's what my experimentation is right now, going through my own struggles.
Definitely.
Um,
Well, yeah, and even like when you're in a conflict, that how we're like, oh, well, you don't get it, you don't get me, these kind of things.
exactly.
Like, yeah, you can change your dialogue or change the way you come at it, being like, oh, okay,
Yes.
now this makes sense.
Yes.
Or something like, okay, this just is not ever going to sound right to you because of where you
Exactly.
are. Okay.
And there's different harmonics between the different um profiles and things and like the communication that you just feel more comfortable. Like I have a flavor, like of
Okay.
people, like for my friends that I'm mostly drawn to, and for lovers that I'm mostly drawn to, and like it just, and for you something that I can see that may be a struggle is like it's the same. So it's your sun sign. These are all the planets going down here. So you got your sun, earth, north node, south node, moon, Mercury, all the planets. And so your conscious personality gate, your sun, which is 70% of you, just like with your astrology, is the gate 18. And gate 18 is part of the channel of judgment. And you're here to walk into a room and see all the way things are not working. And I got to see that. I don't know if Asher has it. I'll have to look. But like when you came into the Harmony house and like we're like when he's like, you're like, this needs to go. Like, so that it's supposed to be to the outside world, but in relationships, what can happen is it can turn either self-critical, hyper self-critical, or it can turn to your partner and you start to pick apart all the things. And I know
Right.
about that because I have the 58, so I have the other side of it, but I'm a Virgo Venus. So I am very picky and I find all the things and I tend to focus on what's not working because
Yeah.
these are the three and because of that, for you, the gate 18.
Yeah. I've definitely been working on that one. I
Mhm.
mean, I'd say one of the that just kind of resonates with when I was in India, like the smells and the chaos and everything, and like my mind was like, oh my gosh, like this place needs an overhaul, like something needs to change. But then the longer I was there, I kind of like felt I was like, okay, no, it's fine the way it is. Like this is just what it is. Like
Mhm.
relax.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that first initial is like, okay, we could, and even everywhere I've ever worked, from restaurants to anything ever worked, I'm like, okay, we can definitely streamline. We can do this way better.
Yeah.
You can, yeah. So that makes sense. Okay.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a negative thing. Like there's a
Mhm.
highest expression and a lowest expression of all of this. There's polarity to every gate, all the things. There's both
Mm,
sides. And your personality Earth is the gate 17.6, and so that's the role model psychic. So
mm,
you do have a trial and error thing for a while. You know, it's the same because it's the sixth line. It has that flavor of the long haul. Like we go through this whole process of alchemy and then you deliver the goods, you know, and people find you. You're like, I think of like the Oracle on the Matrix where they have to like call and get through the ditch, and then like you have access to me. You welcome. You have made it. I will oracle now for you. Like it's so funny. That's what I feel like. So
Okay.
fine wine, aging. Um,
So what I'm
at
hearing
first
is,
I was pissed about that. Just like, what,
no,
50?
definitely, yeah. So what I'm hearing is
But
wait, like step back instead of all pushing forward.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And the right things will find you. They'll come. They're gonna come in.
Okay.
And the most important thing, like I said, is learning more about generator and the functions of that. Another thing about that is contracts are binding to our aura. So if you
Hmm.
say yes to something, you're kind of, it's hard to get out of it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it takes, so that's why we follow the way to respond. That tells you like, okay. And then is an aha, like true aha, and like reprogramming ourselves. This is a process because we're in not self because of all our conditioning in places and spaces. So we get to, you know, find that truth again and like what our body really feels like. And that's probably going to look like doing it wrong first and be like, oh, I did this and it was an and I went and that's what happened. And like you'll, these little blips of like it becoming real and then living it. So yeah, that's sacral. I'm gonna send you some videos and things too to go on more deep dives, rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, I'm not going anywhere, so I'll be able to watch
right.
it.
Yeah. Like I know you like to watch videos. You send them to me, and like I was impressed that you watched the raw one because I
Yeah,
send it out pretty much every time, but I don't think anyone watches the whole thing. But yeah,
I was intrigued.
it's a
So
cool
Asher
story.
had, yeah, Asher had gotten it, and then
Yeah.
because he kind of stumbled across it, and he was like, he sent it to me, and I put it off for like a day or two because it was just like, one of those things. You're like,
It
okay,
wasn't an aha yet.
it wasn't an aha yet. And then yesterday, it was funny because it wasn't even really because of this reading, like coming
Hmm.
up. It was just like it was more of that open
Yeah.
here. It was just like, okay, it's time. Like you don't got anything going on right now. Like you got an hour.
Yes.
It's only an hour. Like what's an hour? And I watched it
Hmm.
and I was like, oh my God. I was blown away.
Sun
Cause I,
gazing and wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
I resonated with it. I really did. Cause, um, I could see how people could be like, oh yeah, that's crazy or demonic or, you
Yeah,
know,
there are people that have
yeah,
said that to me.
no, oh yeah, that. And I mean, even in scripture, Yeshua was called the devil, the son of the devil, or a demon. I mean, so that for me in my life is like nothing new. I'm just like, okay,
Right.
yeah,
The channel of struggle. You keep pinging me, so I'm just responding to what you're saying. And I used to think I had
yeah,
to know everything I was going to say, but now I just like literally let the person ping me and it's like, what? And I have an open throat, so yours is defined. So I have trouble not interrupting and like feel pressure to speak because you're amplifying my throat. So it's always funny in reading. So I'm like, and I just get really excited. But this channel of struggle is like, I have it as well. I
mm,
curse it a lot. Like, why do I have to struggle? Like, that is just it. It's just, I am. But it's an honor. It's an honor to be in the struggle because the deeper that we go, we can be that role model of making it through the struggle. You know, it's learning what to fight for. It's the gate of the fighter. Your unconscious earth is the gate of the fighter. So like I can see that in the sports.
mm,
Also, like martial arts would be probably really grounding, really good for you in some way. I loved jujitsu. I haven't done it as much lately, but like that is so important. We can also see it's the game player, so you can see the subtle layers of what's going on, and not everyone can see and feel that in the same way. So it's like a blessing and a curse This
Mm,
channel, it's like our life isn't worth anything unless we struggle. So, and then we get that deep medicine to serve to others because we are in the experiential deep dive of this sometimes particular things that are our specialties that may be taboo.
definitely. I mean, that's kind of my past was when I wouldn't drink when things were bad. I would drink when things were good. And then I would just
Hmm.
mess it all up. Like,
Hmm.
it was like when everything's going perfectly fine, just get wasted drunk and just
Yeah.
destruction, the whole thing, like blow up the whole thing, and then
Yep.
like rebuild it. And I was
Yep.
wondering, like, why do I do that? Like,
Ah,
that's so
for
crazy. Like,
sure.
what's my issue with that? Like, do I not like stuff being normal and like no balance? Like just
Right.
having,
I know.
yeah.
I
Okay, that
know.
makes sense.
I've
So is the
I
area that you're kind of talking about on here, is this where the red and the black mix, or
right
is it,
here. Yeah,
yeah.
so the personality, all this black data, these numbers,
Mhm.
there's 64 lines in the I Ching and there's 64 codons in the genetic code. So when you land here on the planet, these are what's active. And so these are what's active for you. And so this is all your birth date. On this side, this is your conscious, you're more aware of it, it's your personality. The left side is your design or your body or your more genetic level, unconscious.
Wow.
So, and all of this data is taken about 88 days before you're born. So there's two sides that are brought together to create this body graph. And your defined centers happen because here you have 28 and 38 active. That creates a full channel, and then you're lit up and you're defined. Whereas like you only have the four right here. There's no 63 active. And so
Right.
that remains undefined. And there's no good or bad for any of it. Nothing's better or worse. We all just have different challenges and different strengths that we're working with. And I want to point out another ping I got because it's the same for me is the one brain. I just realized why you're an investigator because the one is the investigator. And
Mm.
so it's kind of like the way our minds work. I'm the same. I'm a one and I love crack. My crack is info and studying and figuring it out. And I love so that's the part that I feel is your like super exploration, deep like reading, listening, all the things. That also corresponds to your diet. So it's
Mm.
not about what you eat in human design, it's about how you eat the different things. So I'm the same, I'm one alternating. And the one is like the primal diet, like caveman, like no processed anything and just whole natural foods, but it's one thing at a time. It's not
Mm.
necessarily good to mix a bunch of things. Like I used to think like, oh, let's super bust this smoothie, putting 20 things in it, and then I would be like, and like the
Yeah.
green powders with like 40 different vegetables, But
Yeah.
like that doesn't happen until you're living your design, and then it kind of comes more online because I used to mix everything. I was so mad about that too. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But now I try to do one thing at a time, or I take different bites. If I'm going to eat something, I have another thing with it so I can have two to go between. That's the same with information too. Like I'll be reading like three books, studying, have all these different screens open. It can kind of be like ADHD, I feel like marker in a way, because I'm like cleaning my kitchen, then I'm going to go to the bathroom, then I'm going to come back to the kitchen, and then I'm like, ah! But that's natural and that's normal. And that was like such a point of like self-love after I got past the annoyance of it. I was like, wow, this is really true for me. And so, how does that feel for you?
Because I mean, even in my, like, I guess I could say as a metaphor, it's more like kind of like painting. Like, I put out, like when I used to paint a lot and do art, it was like, oh, I would put out a lot of paint, and it was like, oh, a little of this, little of that, little of that. But then it ended up becoming kind of muddy, right? Like, and
Hmm.
so once I kind of got a line, I was like, okay, as I'm kind of coming into this space, it's like, okay, one color, red, that's what we're going to use. When that's done, then we're going to use one other color, right? And then now the paintings and the visual of it looks so much more clear than
Yeah.
if when in the past where I was just like, ah, color everywhere. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
yeah,
I get that. I've done the same thing where I'm like, oh. It's too much. It's all blendy
Right.
and brown and nah. Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
I think information is a big one, because even like with the internet and with the amount of information age we're in,
Mm-hmm.
we can get very sidetracked with information and kind of spin out on that.
Yeah.
So I've kind of gotten into the space of like, if I'm doing something and I know, because again, like you're saying, that channel's kind of open, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is coming through, that I'll like write it down and be like, okay, look,
Yes, yes.
I have
That's the
probably,
best thing.
yeah, I have probably like tons of these pads of paper that says, look into this. And it's like,
Same.
do I ever look into it? I don't know, but it's there.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
because I
That's why,
feel
like,
like,
if somebody messages me, I can't look at it. I can't open it until I have the space. So it might be like look like I'm ignoring you, but if I open that and I can't respond right away, it's gone forever. Like I'll forget.
right,
It exists.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or then you're stuck on messaging everybody back, and you're,
Exactly.
yeah. And then you're like,
Yep.
oh wait, I was cooking dinner and like the water's boiling. Oh shoot, like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Super
Okay.
real. Thanks for validating that for me too. It's all like, yeah, okay, it's not just me, it's real.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
real thing.
for sure.
Awesome. The other part of the diet is that I'm passive as well, which is the alternating part. Some people are one brains, but they're consecutive, which means they have to eat all the chicken, all the potato, all the corn,
Mm,
one thing at a time, but not alternate. But for us, we're alternating, and we can fast, so we don't have to eat regularly times a day. I don't even usually eat until afternoon. But
mhm,
half of the other people are active and they need to wake up and eat and have it like every couple hours or they get glitched out.
yeah.
Like one of my sons is passive like me, which is great. 'Cause he just like fine, not eating. The other one's like waking up and if I don't feed him breakfast right away, he's like eating a bag of potato chips. Like he's like, so good to know again. Some people are different. That's why oh, fasting and it's easy. What's wrong with you? It's like, well, are you passive? And you're talking to active people? Because we're not the same. We're
Yeah.
not the same. Ah, and just
Yeah,
like
it's not a blanket statement.
feeling unseen in all the ways that we're all walking around that way because we can't be seen unless we're understood in this flavor, in this way. Like, this is my
Mm.
true being. That's yours. So once we know, we can work it out, Questions do you have?
So environment says valleys.
Hmm.
Um, and then what's narrow? Narrow valleys? Or
Valleys is like acoustics.
okay,
You like to be in a place with good acoustics and environment. I'll add this. Vanessa Henry, yes. So I'll send this in your email. 8
okay,
tips for Valley people.
okay.
Just give you more information on all of that. There's a
Cool.
ton.
What does that
Yeah.
say? Avoiding underground?
Avoid underground. I just saw that too.
Oh, interesting.
Being
Okay.
underground muffles information. Where are the birds? Where is the rain? Where are the people? Drawn to openness and communication and spaces. Underground is unable to be open and expansive, but rather heavy and dense. Avoid basements, especially when sleeping. Headphones. If you're in an acoustic environment that is unpleasant for you, noise canceling headphones can be a saving grace.
Oh, I felt that for sure, especially traveling.
Yeah,
When I'm traveling a lot,
right.
I always have my headphones on.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend's always like, dude, like that's not good, like he's always
Yeah.
saying, like, what's your problem? Da, da, da. I'm like,
Yeah. Nope. It's totally, and
in
it's true. I
zone.
know that from other valleys people, all
Yeah.
about the sound and how things are, and like narrow spaces, like
Mm,
thriving in like so like one of those long houses that is like
yeah.
the layout that way, maybe,
Yeah.
and yeah. Inner vision is your cognition, and that means it's your superpower.
Okay.
Um, so closing your eyes and visualizing your dreams or future, this cognition shines when you allow yourself to go within. Closing your eyes for a moment while making a decision and the answer will become clear. Play around with spaces that have low lighting, minimal sounds. Create a cocoon for yourself as this can help you pick up on the subtleties of situations or your next move. Outer distractions pull you away from your inner process, and having this cognition invites you to get cozy with deeper layers of your psyche. You don't need any external validation or prompts to get to the core of what feels right for you. It's all about being receptive to what comes up and trusting that to be just the information you need. Meditating and like visualizing what you're wanting. But for you, you're a passive manifester, which means non-detailed. Again, like Abraham Hicks, like details, details, details. It's
Right.
the only way. I'm like, "Ah, it's not. I'm passive also. So I would be like, I love my new home. I feel this way in my new home. I picture me feeling this way, but I don't have like, well, it has to have purple walls and 3 bedrooms and da 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 da.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay to be more general, but like going inward into that visualization, the feeling, the inner world of it is a way to create.
Yeah, because I felt like that too. I felt like when I did kind of go into that space with manifesting, and I was like, okay, I want it this way, this color, this thing. And it was like, it never really happened. And I would
Mm,
get it, but not like that. And I'm like, am I not doing
yes.
this right?
Yeah,
Like,
I know. It's like,
like,
what?
I'm like, I get it. But then at the same time, it's kind of like this t-shirt, right? Like, I wanted this linen shirt, but then they, I put the order in and they said, oh, we don't have that color linen shirt. We have this colored linen shirt.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, fine, just a linen shirt. Like, it doesn't, as long as
Yes.
it's not like red or something like
Yes.
crazy. Like, okay, if it's in the blue spectrum of blue, okay, I'll take.
Right.
Yeah, and so it was kind of interesting because and I guess that's where my passiveness would come through, where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, that's fine, that'll work. I'm not gonna be like, no, it has to be the color blue that I wanted. I actually like this
Right.
color blue. Like, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Okay, cool. Good. Okay, so another question was, so the difference, okay, so I see that's like on the left and on the right. Like, does that mean anything, or is that like,
You mean right here?
yeah, well, like how the red's on the left and then the,
Yeah. That's just because that's just the way it's laid out, but the red, so like in your chart,
yeah,
your gate 28
yeah,
is conscious, and it's a second line, and it's in your Mercury. So you can
okay,
dive so deeply, and each gate has 6 different varieties of that gate.
okay.
So, but then the 38, which is the gate of the fighter and knowing what to fight, is unconscious. And it's a third line. So you're going to be doing trial and error to learn what it is you want to truly fight for.
Mm,
And then, so each one is, and sometimes they're both, like your gate 32, which is kind of like the 32 is to me, I have it. It's kind of like the cheerleader, boosting people up, lifting people up. But
look,
you have that both conscious and unconscious because it's
now
stripes.
that's the kind of thing I'm struggling with actually in the present moment, like today and like yesterday
Mm-hmm.
was boosting people up, but then also that distracting me away from like what I think I'm doing, I guess, because,
Mm-hmm.
or is, should I lean more into that space and be like, hey, um, that's part of my position on this planet is to boost people up and to be a part of that, and
Mm-hmm.
then kind of put my ambitions and my things aside because that's what I'm really supposed to be doing.
Right. I feel like it's balanced. Like I'm seeing, I did so much better when I did this, but I would create every day and I would be like, okay, here's a sovereign rose of my business. Here's my kids. Here's how I take care of myself. And here's how I take care of other people. And like, I will put one thing for like caring for another or whatever on my list. So it's not like swirling me because then, and then if something comes in, then okay, I'm still not doing that today, but I can put it over here that I can choose it when I make my list next time of what I'm doing today. Like I have to keep some sort of structure, even though I'm like, I'm not doing structure.
Right.
I'm flowing. But no, I still need
Yeah.
to do this for myself, but I've been off the wagon for a few months and I'm going to get back into it. But that, so I have like a running list of the things I would like to do to help to do whatever, study. And then I get to pick from that and this is my day today, and this, and this is so that I feel like, yes, I'm contributing. I know I did this thing for this person, or I sent them love, or I posted for someone else, but like, come back to yourself, to yourself, because you're going to have capacity to help to expand that reach if you're taken care of.
Now the thing is too, is like what I'm kind of experiencing is like I'm there, and of course, giving that person my time or saying, hey, it's okay, we can work through this, it'll be fine. Like, you got this. And then it becomes like a thing where they're like every little thing, they're like chiming in on me and like, oh, being. And I'm like, okay, whoa, like I'm not like your savior here. Like you've got to do that. But so I would say like just in general, is there like a comfortable way in my chart of saying like how to respond to that in like a respectful way and not saying like stop, like this is inappropriate, or
Mm-hmm.
shadow or ghosting them, right? And just being like
I
not
go
even
for ghosting.
right.
Because I just get anxiety and I don't know what to say. And so sometimes I feel like I do that. And then I'll come back to them. You can just say, like, you know what, I have other things I'm focused on today. Um,
Okay.
I really value that you're reaching out, and I trust that you'll, find your way with it, and that's it. And then you're not obligated to respond to anyone. Like, as what I'm saying, like if I
Right.
don't have the space, like I just ignore the message. I don't open it, so I remember to go back, but it might be 3 days later when I actually
Sure.
respond.
And then
Because
that's
there's
on
also
that
this
person.
expectation that we need to be available to everyone all the time,
Right.
especially with
Right.
social media. Like, I know you read that. Like,
Yeah.
off, like for real. Yeah, like I just can't.
Yeah.
Um, and then also look to the plate, like again, with your maybe sense of obligation or feeling that
Mm.
wanting to, or we avoid confrontation and truth, because if I tell you I'm feeling a certain way and I'm open emotionally, then you're gonna feel triggered, and I'm gonna feel your trigger in my body and your disappointment and you're all this. And I don't want to
Right.
feel that. So like I don't want to say anything. So I try to just tiptoe around it, but that doesn't, and then it's got me in so much trouble with the open will center too, the not enoughness. I make agreements I shouldn't. Oh man, I'm not myself, and then I eventually just went under the surface the whole time because I didn't want to create anything, and then all of a sudden I'm like, damn it, I haven't been being honest,
Mm.
and I feel this way, and I'm depleted, and I blindside the other person with it because I just kind of kept bypassing myself in a way too. And I don't want to rock the boat, and I don't want to disappoint anyone. And I feel like I won't be supported if I'm honest, or whatever the case is. So that drives the more burnout, satisfaction, and frustration. So we're frustrated if we don't follow our authorities, getting stuck in the wrong commitments. So the idea is if you're following your
Definitely.
strategy and authority and your aura, that you will be able to move smoother and not be in the blah. But
Yeah, and I
still,
feel like the obviously the community from the past that I surrounded myself was so used to that
yeah,
personality that I portrayed, that now
yes,
they're like, whoa, what happened? Where did you just fall off the map or something? Like,
yes.
you used to just be on point and respond to everything. And now I'm kind of like, I don't think that was me.
I'm reframing my people pleaser. I think a lot of us are doing that, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. Yeah,
Oh,
that's great. I'm definitely going to work on that. I mean, it's literally been coming up like the last 2 days, where it's kind of like, I want to help, but I don't know. It's
well, and
because
that's
I'm so,
another thing that I read about the sixth line too. The sixth line, when we're aloof on the roof, we're
yeah,
not here to help people in
yeah,
that way. Like, I
no,
don't remember where I read that, but it was like, I made me feel like not an asshole as much,
right,
because
right,
we're not here to do that. The fifth
yeah,
lines, these other lines, like that's their role. But for us, we're aloof on the roof. We're in our own, we're aloof. We're not here for it.
right.
So it did
When I get
change.
called aloof, I can be
Yeah,
like, it's
exactly.
okay. That's
Or
exactly what.
selfish. You're like, yay, I'm doing it. You also have your unconscious sun is the gate 39.3. So it's provocation. Your energy provokes people.
Oh,
It can provoke, it can be, it's provocation of spirit. So it shakes things up. So they're provoked either in a good way or a bad way.
Right.
It just happens. So I say you're shaking it up.
Yeah.
So just, and it's a trial and error with that. It's the third
Okay.
line. So it's okay. You're here to shake it up. Also, you're 43. I have the 23. So I have to tell you, you are going to look like a genius or a freak. If it's
Mm.
asked for, projected channel, you have a lot of stories to tell, you have a lot to express here. You're brilliant. But if it's not invited, it's a projected channel. It's not asked for, you might be like not seen or not listened to or felt like, or be the freak. So be invited into your sharings might also save some of your energy as well.
Mm. Yeah.
And you don't always, just because you're invited as a projected channel, doesn't mean you have to answer the call. It still has to be an aha for you to share what you're here to share. But it's going to work best if it's called out of you.
Okay. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Same with the
Perfect.
gate 18, your correction, channel of correction, gate of correction. You can only be in that correction if you're asked for the correction. So you can
Mm.
ask questions like, are you open to this? Or I have some insight. Would you like to hear? Or like, try, that might be a way to approach it, but you might feel depleted if you're not invited to give that in these ways, and it just creates friction and
Mm.
all of that. Yeah. Good luck with your experiment. Thank you
Oh,
for third
yeah.
lining it. I
Yeah.
fellow
For for
on
third
a loop on
lightning.
the roof. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Third
no,
line, sixth line.
it makes complete sense, and I feel like that gives me a little bit more clarity in moving forward. Obviously, combined with my palm leaf reading, and it did kind of
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of overlapping in what you're saying with that, which I was like, oh my,
Nice.
because I
Yay.
mean, even with that, people are always like, they say the same thing about Indian palm leaf, like, is that a hustle? Like, is that something? So it's kind of interesting because, and then this one,
Mm,
you, not, I mean, just they were like, hey, I had to reschedule it, but then how they both kind of line, like, again, divinely, like overlined, like right at the same
it's
time.
perfect. It was
Like,
needed to
yeah,
happen
it was like,
together.
it was
Yeah.
perfect. Like, instead of, I didn't
Yay.
really get frustrated either way, but I was just like, okay, this is the way it's going. And then when
Right.
I stepped back, which is beautiful, that I stepped back and then it just kind of like fell
Yeah.
into place. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
blew my mind. So I'm
Yes.
very grateful for your time and doing this. Now, are interested in having their charts read. So
Hmm.
what would be the step that they could go moving forward to either contact? Is it good to contact you directly? Should through
Yeah.
email, through Instagram, or
Yeah. Instagram is great. Email you'll have is a sovereignrose.com.
okay.
Um,
No, because I feel like
mhm.
this information is very important. I mean, even with people moving forward who I'm working with or who I'm involved with,
Yeah.
like it's almost like I don't want to, I almost want to say it, but it's like a requirement. Like if we're going to continue, especially in business or doing
I
things,
get
like
it.
this is like a requirement. You have this done moving
Mm-hmm.
forward so that we know where we stand in
Yes.
business and in strategy and that, I mean, obviously friendships, like whatever, you can do whatever you want, but if it's
Right.
serious, like, we're dealing with money, we're dealing with
Oh
clients,
yeah.
like,
It's a
okay,
huge thing. I also do relationship readings of all sorts. So that one looks like 30 minutes. It's 90 minutes, 30 minutes for one person, 30 minutes for the next. Both of them hear about each other. And then 30 minutes where we do the combination chart and talk about like what's happening between you guys to create harmony. What do you need to know and what do you need to know? And so that's another option.
I'm so glad that everything is lining, and I'm so just over the moon
Hmm.
about for meeting you and getting to know you, and it's just been perfect. I'm
Yeah,
so
I
yeah.
agree. Yay. Well, thank you. I'm gonna get this going. I'll send it
Okay,
to you
okay, sounds perfect.
today or tomorrow with all the info and just let me know what else comes up for you. I appreciate you.
Okay,
Have a good
tons of
day.
love. Okay, bye.